a book is kind of a personal experience for the person who's reading it, whereas a film is more or less kind of the filmmaker's interpretation of the book because you're getting the filmmaker's visual interpretation. With The Lovely Bones, do you actually think of it as this is a film for myself over a film for the fans, or do you try and merge the two together?
Interesting question. I mean, I would like to think that it's done selfishly. I'd like to think that because you can't make a film for a hypothetical audience. You literally can't, and I think it's dangerous to actually do that. And I think often the Hollywood film industry is guilty of doing that too often, where they're not making a film out of a sense of passion. It doesn't come from the heart. It doesn't come, because the people involved really want to see that movie. It comes because a particular game or a particular toy or a TV show is at the top of the ratings, and they know that that bubble's only going to last for a year or two before it bursts. So they're going to make a lot of money if they get a feature film out very quickly before the fad fades away. So let's get a film made. So I do think that Hollywood, we call it Hollywood, but just the film industry in general is guilty of doing exactly that, of nobody involved in the production really has got their heart in it, and they're doing it because there's a buck to be made, and that's not what we do. I mean, we make movies because we, at any given time, we feel very excited and very, I start to imagine a film, I start to see it in my mind's eye, and I badly want to see this film. And in terms of a novel and interpreting a novel, I think it's impossible to make a perfect adaptation. The book is the book, and whether the book's perfect or not doesn't really matter, because that book represents the work, and it always is. The Lovely Bones is first and foremost a novel, and always will be, no matter how many films are ultimately made over the decades. That the work of The Lovely Bones is primarily a novel. That's how it was written, that's how it's conceived, that's how you experience the pure storytelling that Alice Sebold wrote, and so anything else, like a film adaptation, is only going to ever be somebody's personal interpretation, and that's all that we try to do. You don't sit down and think, now, there's a certain number of a million people that like this book. Now, what are we going to have to do to make them all happy? Because that is impossible. It's impossible. And the other thing that's impossible is to achieve any sense of perfection. I mean, there's no such thing as a perfect movie, and there's certainly no such thing as a perfect way to adapt a book. There's nothing a filmmaker can do that will result in a perfect adaptation. So you don't even think about that. What you do is to me, the most honest and I think the most important thing to do is that the filmmaker that's doing it, and when I say the filmmaker, I'm really at this stage talking about the screenwriting, the writers, because I always co-write my scripts with Philippa Boyens and Fran Walsh. The three of us write everything that we do. We were readers of the book. We read the book before we ever thought about doing a film. We read it as a book, just as anyone else did, and it affected us. It was emotional. It was funny. It was thought-provoking. Something we'd never, it was a story unlike any other we'd ever read before, and we thought it would make an interesting movie. So we sat down, and what you've got Philippa, Fran, and Peter's impressions of that book, and it doesn't pretend to be anything more. I mean, the last thing we would ever say is you love The Lovely Bones, come and see the movie because it's all there. Because it's not all there. What you're getting is our personal interpretation.